Hey, hola, my friends. My name's Charles Collins, and I'd like to welcome you to Together We Grow's aquaponic, hydroponic, and traditional gardens. All of our gardens are solar powered. We try to harness as much energy as we can from nature. We use the sun. We try to limit as much water as we possibly could use because we do live in the southwestern desert in the United States of America. I mean, I think it's all of our responsibility to try to lessen that global footprint. So we try to do all that we can at Together We Grow. But enough about that. Actually, it's never enough about that, but yeah, enough about that. I don't know if you can take a look around. I mean, if you take a look around, but it's incredibly beautiful out here. And it's actually not spring. Well, it's spring-like weather. And that's something that you can take advantage of in sustainable gardening. Because unlike traditional gardening where you have to wait for the ground to get a certain temperature, so that, for the ground to get a certain temperature so that it won't damage the roots on your plants, and as well for the air to get a certain temperature, we can sort of eliminate one of those factors, which is the ground temperature, because we're not actually growing in the dirt. And we can kind of manipulate that air temperature, the temperature that the leaves are feeling, so that not only can we get an extended growth season out of our plants, but we can get an incredibly productive extended growth season out of our plants. So without any further ado, we're going to talk a little bit more about what seeds to start, when to start them, how we do ours here at Together We Grow, and we're even going to take a look at some seed starts that we have going already. All right, you guys ready? Let's get going. Most folks, when they visit, they find it kind of shocking that nearly every plant that they see here, well, about 95% of the plants you see here during any given time of the year, were indeed started from seeds here. You'll see a couple of these spinaches that aren't doing too good, and these red ruby lettuce that we picked up, these actually came from a box store, the spinach and the ruby red lettuce did. Why? Because I really didn't want to start any more lettuce or any more leafy greens from seed, because we were already thinking about next spring or this spring, because we do have extended growing seasons here in the Southwest. So tip number one is, please keep in mind of your calendar dates of your last frost dates of when your temperature picks up. Always try to start your seeds indoors, your indoor seeds, about 2 weeks before that last that last frost date. It makes it a lot easier for gardening. And also, if you keep in mind on your local schedules or your zones, your local growing or gardening zones, it'll indeed help you out with planning your future gardens, as well as having those seeds ready before it's even time for them to go outside. Another bit of advice I'd like to share is keep in mind that these things all grow up from seeds. And I know that sounds funny, it sounds crazy, something simple like, yeah, we know they're going to grow up, their plants. They got to grow up so that we can eat them. But you got to keep in mind that they're not always going to be small. So whatever you do start off as a seed, keep in mind that you're going to need a place for it to grow further, and to even get the best out of that plant, you want to give it as much room as it'll possibly need. So another bit of advice, please Google, research the minimum requirements that your plants will need, and then try to do that plus 1.5 times. And trust me, your plants will be a lot happier after. Also, I'd like to let you guys know that these plants don't really need much of our help. Everything that they need is inside of that little shell, that little sheath that we call a seed. So once you do get that seed started, pretty much just leave it alone. There are a few basic requirements that you have to adhere to. If you do that, the seed does all the work. The one thing that you have to apply, and trust me, this is going to sound a lot easier than it actually is patience. Patience to let that plant do its thing. Trust me, have a little bit of patience, sit back and relax, let Mother Nature do its thing, and you and that plant are going to be a lot happier. So let's get over there and check out some seeds, my friends. Now, I believe my wonderful wife, Rosie, hi Rosie, started these seeds a little less than a week ago. And we always try to plant what we know we're going to grow and we know we're going to eat. And that's another thing that I encourage you guys to do. Grow what you know you're going to eat. It's a lot more fun, and it's a lot less waste when it comes to your vegetables. So over here, we have 9 cherry tomatoes. And this substrate, this growing medium that we're using is called rock wool. It comes in these little rock wool cubes. If you haven't done so, please, I encourage you, number one, if you haven't done so, click subscribe below, because I love having you guys hanging along. Also, if you haven't done so, please take a look at some of the past videos. I go into full detail and description of what rock wool is. It's actually It's actually spun limestone. So it doesn't hurt the environment when you're done with it, but it doesn't really help the environment either. It's just mushy rock stuff. But we have 9 cherry tomatoes started, and in one of these rock wools, we'll put like 3 seeds in there, and you'll see our propagation rate. our success rate is very high when it comes to this. So we have our 9 cherry tomatoes here, and actually later on what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually pull one of these from here. I'll separate these, and I can actually put the ones that I'm pulling out, those are my doggies, I can actually put these guys in a separate rockwool cube on their own. I know, guys, that's exactly what Daddy needs when he's working, is some entertainment from dogs barking behind him. That's awesome. Let's take a look next to our cherry tomatoes, guys. You see our peppers are starting to pop up. These are peppers here. And peppers actually take longer than tomatoes, so don't be discouraged if you put them all together. Next to them, we have a variety of peppers. We have some Hungarian. This is awesome, isn't it, guys? Now, I would just click stop. I would click stop and then start over again, but nope, like I tell you, no edit recording. This is what we try to do, and this is real life over here on our little farm. So, we have our cherry tomatoes. We start off with some Hungarian wax peppers. We have some Big Jim Numex peppers, California Wonder Bell peppers, Purple Bell, Shishito, Jalapeno, Carnival Bell, Grand Bell, Chili Chalaca, Habaneros. And yeah, all of these guys are going to be popping up. This is one of the last, I think it's a habanero popping up there. And after the peppers, we have our basil. Now, remember I said try to grow, with our basil, before I get too ahead of myself, with our basil, we have Italian large leaf basil, we have sweet Genovese, we have holy green basil, we have Thai, we have lemon, and we have dark opal, which you can see one of them popping up right there. We try to grow a variety of each thing because just don't want to get too complacent. And plus, different peppers and different types of basil have different flavor spectrums on it and flavor profiles. So we try to get the most out of that little bit of space when we're growing in the backyard. Now, let's take a look at our little seedlings again. These guys are going to have to be spread out. So I actually have larger trays inside the house where I'm going to give these guys a little bit more room to breathe. Another suggestion that I highly recommend, try to use as small as a container as possible, because that means that you'll need you'll need a lot less nutrient solution or water that you're using to keep your substrate or your growing medium wet. That also cuts back on algae. Another bit of advice. Folks have a tendency of, once they put the seeds inside their cube or whatever medium that they're using to start them, they have a tendency to either put a heating pad on, which I highly recommend. Plants like to sprout at a temperature between 77 and 79 degrees. So if you don't have a heating mat, little free tip of advice, you can always just put your seedling starts in a plastic bag and set them on top of your refrigerator, because the temperature on top of your fridge is indeed usually around 77.9. I cannot stress enough, if you really want to keep track of what you're growing, please write down and make a little chart of your seed starts, because these guys can get out of hand. And if you've ever visited my gardens, you'll know one of the favorite things that we do is try to figure out what the heck we're growing over there, because we don't keep track of anything. Another thing that I like to do when I'm starting my seeds, I like to always grow more than I know I'm going to need. Because you know what, it takes nothing to just separate one of these, put them into another rock cube, or even put it in a little plastic cup with a little bit of dirt, some perlite, and share it with my neighbors, because that's the whole part of gardening, is sharing with those who may not have, providing something for those who may not have it. And you're not just giving from your garden, you're not just giving from the produce, you're giving from your heart too. And to me, that's like the coolest thing about what we do, is that you share in so many different aspects, but it all starts with just that one little seed. Oh, and one of the biggest pieces of advice, if you want to save yourself a lot of headache, and I mean a whole lot of headache, don't let them dry out. Please don't let them dry out. It takes a quick second to just check on them. And once again, the smaller the container, the less water that you'll need. Look at these guys, are nice and wet, and this has been here for a week. There's no algae, and this is pretty cool. Now, one of the last pieces of advice, once your seedlings once they pop, all right? Then you apply your light. You do not need to apply your light before that. Everything that seed needs to come to life is inside of that shell. Once it comes to life, it's time for the sun. It's time for that light, from the ultraviolet light from the sun, to bring these things to life so that they can go on to their next stages of their existence. Which, hopefully, if you do everything right, the last one will be yum yum in your belly. Man, I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Please don't forget, variety is the key to life, man. So grow more than one type. Also, grow more than you think you'll need, because sharing is caring, and especially when it comes to gardening, it couldn't be more true than that. Don't get discouraged if your seeds don't sprout. Give them time. And guess what? As a great friend of mine, Chad, once told me, if your seeds don't sprout, that's why they give you so many opportunities in that little pack. Don't give up. Just plant that first seed so that together we'll grow. Peace and blessings, my friends, and have a great one.